Imagine the sound of sliding on crushed red brick, the heavy, rhythmic thud of a tennis ball striking the strings of a racket at over 90 miles per hour. It is a sound that echoes through the historic Foro Italico in Rome, a venue that has witnessed the triumphs and tragedies of gladiators, both ancient and modern. But on this particular Friday, May 8th, 2026, the Roman clay was not just a stage for a routine tennis match. It was a burial ground for established hierarchies and the birthplace of a completely new narrative in women's professional sports. If you scroll through your feed recently, you probably saw the headline. It was written in that classic, hyper-sensationalized, algorithm-baiting font. It screamed, "Thousands of fans lost. Alexandra Eala shocking upset versus world number 30 Wang Xinyu of China." It is exactly the kind of title designed to make you click, designed to incite panic or outrage or curiosity. Thousands of fans lost? What does that even mean? Did they physically vanish? Did they renounce their fandom in a collective fit of rage? No, but in the hyper-reactive, intensely passionate world of professional tennis, and specifically, the fiercely partisan world of Asian sports, a loss of this magnitude feels like a seismic event. The fans did not disappear into thin air. They lost their money at the sports books. They lost their preconceived notions of who dominates the region. And most importantly, they lost their faith in the idea that the old guard is invincible. Today, we are not just going to read you the box score. We are going to deconstruct the anatomy of an upset. We are going to look at how a rising Filipina star, world number 42 Alexandra Eala, carrying the hopes of over 115 million people on her shoulders, stepped onto the dirt in Rome and systematically dismantled a Chinese powerhouse. But to understand why this straight sets victory, 6-4, 6-3, is sending shockwaves through the WTA Tour, we have to look far past the baseline. We have to examine the psychological warfare, the geopolitical undercurrents of sport, and a very specific, quiet desperation that has been brewing for months between these two athletes. There is a massive consequence to what happened in the round of 64 at the Italian Open, a consequence that will not fully reveal itself until the dust settles on a European clay court swing. This was not just about advancing to face Elena Rybakina in the next round. This was a statement of arrival. And by the end of this deep dive, you will realize that the landscape of Asian tennis has fundamentally shifted. To truly grasp the magnitude of this moment, we have to rewind the tape. We have to look at how we arrived at this collision course in Rome and trace the origins of a rivalry that represents a broader cultural clash in the tennis world. Let's start with the backstory. Tennis is an incredibly lonely sport. Unlike basketball or soccer, there is no coaching from the sidelines during the point, no teammates to pass the ball to when you are having an off day. It is just you, your racket, and the demons in your head. For Alexandra Eala, those demons have occasionally spoken with the weight of an entire nation. The Philippines is a basketball-crazed country. It is a boxing-crazed country. It has never, historically, been a global superpower in tennis. So, when a young girl from Quezon City starts winning junior Grand Slams and eventually moves to Mallorca to train at the prestigious Rafa Nadal Academy, the expectations become astronomically high. By March of 2026, Eala had reached a career-high ranking of world number 29, officially confirming her status as the highest-ranked Filipino player in history. She had deep runs at major tournaments. She had landmark victories against top-tier opponents like Coco Gauff and Jasmine Paolini. But the transition from being a prodigy to being consistent week-in, week-out threat on the WTA Tour is notoriously brutal. Leading up to Rome, the narrative around Eala was beginning to fray slightly. She suffered a tough loss at the Mucho Madrid Open to Elise Mertens. She fell to Leila Fernandez at the Porsche Tennis Grand Prix. She lost to Carolina Machova in Miami. The doubt was slowly creeping into the discourse. The tennis pundits were asking the inevitable, cynical question. Had she peaked too early? Was she struggling to adapt to the grueling, unforgiving grind of the senior tour? And then there is the other side of the net. Wang Xinyu, the pride of Chinese tennis. Sitting comfortably around the world top 30, Wang represents a completely different tennis ecosystem. China has invested hundreds of millions of dollars into developing tennis infrastructure over the last 2 decades, sparked by the legendary success of Li Na. Wang is a product of a system designed to produce champions. She is a phenomenal baseliner, armed with powerful ground strokes and a potent, commanding serve. But Wang arrived in Rome harboring her own dark clouds. She was very much out of form, having lost 7 of her last 10 main draw matches on the WTA Tour. The hidden motive here, the absolute crux of this matchup, was desperation. Wang Xinyu was desperate to stop her freefall in the rankings and prove she could adapt her aggressive, hard-court-centric game to the slow, heavy-clayed Europe. Alexandra Eala was desperate to arrest her own string of recent defeats and, more importantly, exact revenge for what happened 4 months earlier. You see, these two had met before. January 2026. The Auckland Classic in New Zealand. The semifinals. It was a brutal, physical, emotional roller coaster of a match. Eala fought valiantly, but Wang Xinyu ultimately broke her heart, winning a grueling 3-setter. That loss in Auckland lingered. It set a psychological precedent. It established Wang as the older, more experienced obstacle that Eala could push to the brink, but could not quite overcome. So, when the draw was announced in Rome and these two names were placed next to each other again, the stage was set for a classic psychological thriller. Let us break down the micro-narratives of the match itself. The surface matters more than anything here. Clay court tennis is an entirely different sport than hard court tennis. It requires immense patience, superior fitness, and a highly specific biomechanical skill. The ability to slide into your shots. Hard courts reward flat, aggressive ball striking. Clay courts reward heavy topspin angles and the mental fortitude to construct a point over 15, 20, or 25 shots. Eala is a student of the Rafa Nadal Academy. Clay is not just a surface for her. It is a philosophy. She recently said, "Anything I can take from Rafa, I'll take with pride." And you could see the Spanish influence in her game on Friday. She played without fear. She utilized her heavy left-handed forehand to pin Wang deep behind the baseline. The first set was a masterclass in tactical discipline. Wang, relying on her natural power, tried to end points quickly, but the slow Roman Clay absorbed the pace of her shots. Eala, displaying maturity well beyond her 19 years, refused to give Wang any rhythm. She neutralized Wang's booming first serve by taking a few steps back, giving herself time to read the trajectory of the ball. When Wang was forced to hit a second serve, Eala pounced, stepping inside the baseline and taking the ball early to rush the Chinese star. But it wasn't just about tactics. It was about nerves. Almost 4 months to the day since her devastating loss in Auckland, Eala found herself in a position to take the lead. Serving for the first set at 5-4, the pressure must have been suffocating. This is where prodigies usually fold. This is where the ghost of past defeats taps them on the shoulder. But Eala did not blink. She stormed to the final game, take the first set 6-4. The second set is where the psychological dam broke. Eala and Wang went neck and neck in the early games. It was a tense, gritty affair. Wang was fighting for her survival in the tournament, fighting to justify her seeding, fighting to avoid another early exit in a season that was rapidly slipping away from her. But as the set progressed, Eala's defensive resilience began to crack Wang's offensive resolve. Eala was tracking down balls that had no business being returned. She was forcing Wang to hit one extra shot, then another, then another. Eventually, Wang started pulling the trigger too early. The unforced errors began to mount. The aggressive playing style that worked so beautifully for Wang on the cement of Flushing Meadows was actively betraying her on the dirt of the Foro Italico. Eala secured the crucial break of serve and never looked back, closing out the set and the match 6-3. Now, as an objective observer, it is my job to present a counter-argument. We must play devil's advocate to ensure we are seeing the complete picture. Was this truly a shocking upset orchestrated by the sheer brilliance of Alexandra Eala, or was it merely the inevitable collapse of a heavily favored player who was already in a severe slump? The skeptics will point out that Wang Xinyu was extremely vulnerable. Losing 7 of your last 10 matches creates a mental fragility that cannot be overstated. Confidence is a currency on the WTA Tour, and Wang was operating at a massive deficit. Furthermore, Wang's game is fundamentally built for hard courts. Her flat, driving strokes lose their lethality on clay. Therefore, one could argue that an out-of-form hard court specialist losing to a hungry, clay court-trained rising star is not an upset at all. It is simply statistics manifesting in reality. The algorithms predicted a close match. The tennis purists knew Eala's game was better suited for Rome. So, perhaps the thousands of fans who lost their minds simply failed to do their homework. But I reject that cynical view. To reduce this match to a mere statistical probability is to strip it of its humanity. Yes, Wang was out of form, but she is still a world number 30. She still hits the ball harder and cleaner than 99% of the population. Beating a player of that caliber, especially one who has previously defeated you on a big stage, requires a monumental act of willpower. Eala did not just inherit a victory because Wang played poorly. Eala actively took the victory by executing a flawless game plan under immense pressure. She conquered her own demons from Auckland, and she conquered the suffocating expectations of her home country. So what does this all mean? Why does this specific hour and a half of tennis in May of 2026 matter in the grand scheme of things? Let us look at the long-term trajectory. In the immediate future, Alexandra Eala advances to the round of 32 to face a massive challenge in Elena Rybakina. The gauntlet of the WTA Tour offers no time to celebrate. But looking further ahead, 5 years from now, this match in Rome will be viewed as a definitive inflection point. For the last decade, Asian tennis has been searching for its next transcendent superstar. Li Na broke the barrier. Naomi Osaka shattered the ceiling. But the sport is constantly hungry for the next generational talent who can bridge the gap between East and West. China has a deep roster of exceptional players, but they have struggled to find that singular, dominant force who can win consistently on all surfaces. Wang Xinyu will undoubtedly recover from this slump, but this loss exposes a critical flaw in her surface versatility that she must address if she ever hopes to hold a Grand Slam trophy in Paris or London. For Alexandra Eala, this victory is the ultimate validation of her unorthodox path. By moving to Spain, by embracing the grueling, physically demanding style of European clay court tennis, she has built a foundation that is fundamentally different from her peers. 5 years from now, when Eala is potentially competing in the second week of Roland Garros, we will look back at this exact victory over Wang Xinyu as the moment she truly believed she belonged among the elite. This was the moment the Filipina prodigy stopped being a promising junior and became a bona fide giant slayer. This brings me to my final thought, something I want you to sit with long after this video ends. The internet dubbed this a shocking upset where thousands of fans lost. It highlights the incredible fickleness of sports fandom in the digital age. We are so quick to write off a player in a slump, and we are equally quick to crown a new queen after a single victory. The truth of professional tennis is much harsher and much more beautiful than a clickbait headline. Momentum is an incredibly fragile thing. It is built drop by drop through thousands of hours of unseen suffering, and it can evaporate in the span of a single missed forehand. Wang Xinyu did not lose her talent on the clay of Rome, and Alexandra Eala did not suddenly become invincible. What we witnessed was a raw, unfiltered clash of human resilience. We saw a young woman refuse to bow to history, refuse to bow to rankings, and refuse to be intimidated by the ghosts of her past. That is not just tennis. That is the essence of competition. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive. If you want to continue exploring the hidden narratives, the tactical breakdowns, and the psychological realities of the sports world, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. The landscape of professional tennis is shifting beneath our feet, and we will be here to analyze every single tremor. Leave a comment below with your thoughts. Do you think Alexandra Eala has what it takes to win a Grand Slam in the next 3 years? Or is the depth of the WTA Tour too much to overcome? Let's keep the conversation going. Until next time, appreciate the game, respect the athletes, and never just read the headline.